Special thanks for this week's episode goes out to Chord Limited, those design guys at CMB Creatives, producers of Draconian Switch webzine, and Erotic Art Week TNT.
You have 983 friends on Facebook, right? Also, your profile picture on Facebook is of Trinidad Noir.
Okay.
Tell me about Trinidad Noir and your strong identification at this moment with that project that is your profile picture.
Trinidad Noir is a book that I co-edited. It was published last year by Akashic Books from Brooklyn. It's one in their series Akashic Noir. Noir is a genre of literature and film that is very dark. It's crime fiction, usually set in more of like an urban setting. A couple of years ago, the publisher asked me if I was interested in working on a Port of Spain noir, because all the titles in the series have been cities. So they started with Brooklyn Noir, they've gone to Manhattan, Dublin, San Francisco, Havana, New Orleans, and then he said, let's do Trinidad, let's do Port of Spain. And I said, you know, when you look at Port of Spain in relation to even Brooklyn, it's so small. You can't fit this formula with Port of Spain, because what they do is they take one city and they split it up into different sections, and each story is set in a different section of the city, and it's very strongly tied to the geography and the language and the people. So I didn't feel Port of Spain had that much diversity. I was so wrong, because when having pitched the thing as Trinidad Noir now, everybody came to me and was like, well, I have this story and I want to put it in Port of Spain, and I was like, what? So you know, perhaps there's gonna be a Port of Spain Noir yet. But anyway, I'm on Facebook for two reasons. The first is that I have a 15-year-old daughter who is on Facebook and who was on Facebook before me, and I felt it's very important for me to know what she's doing. So I'm really on it to macro her, which I do often. Sorry. But it's my role to know what she's doing, so that I joined it for that reason. And I quickly realized that it's an excellent tool for doing sort of intense personal marketing to different groups. And so I've been using it to market Trinidad Noir, which is probably why I have 900 plus friends. I don't know all of them. Please don't delete me, Facebook. I don't know all of them. I know most of them actually, whether peripherally or not.
So
and I've been using it for that reason.
How successful has it been in selling the book? And how have book sales been going?
Book sales have been going well. I don't know that the Facebook presence per se has been necessarily driving sales so hard, but it's a good way of keeping the name in people's span of attention, you know, have them know that this thing is out.
In your short story in Trinidad Noir, do you think that glorifies crime? Because it did, the hero, or they were involved in drugs a great deal.
Well, not a great deal. That's the whole story. It's about that's what they do.
Do you think that makes an impression on the whole system by glorifying?
Well, the genre of noir is about, as you said, anti-heroes. It's about morally ambiguous situations. So my brief was write a noir story set in Trinidad, and that's what I did. And as an artist, I think it's my responsibility to reflect stuff that happens, you know, and that actually is a story that somebody told me. I mean, nobody was killed in the real story, but it really did happen that this guy, he went up It wasn't Sanssouci, but he went in the bush and he found this weed and he stole the weed and he came back and he sold it. You know, so I'd love to say I made this stuff up, but I didn't. You know, I mean, so it's actually stuff that happens. The place we live in, that collection is, I think, taking a closer look at our contemporary crime than any other publication that I know of right now. And it's sad, but it's true, you know.
So does that mean we have a very noir society?
Yes.
If it's really so easy to come by, not have to really imagine it?
Yes. I mean, okay, look, one of these stories, the story by Willie Chen, is about a Syrian guy who takes his family's fortune and goes into drugs. I'm not calling any names, but I see you smiling, Dave.
I don't know anything.
No, I'm saying that these stories are common balance in Trinidad. You know, that this is the place we live in. You know?
So then it might be really too much to expect more from our politicians if they are of us and if we are so noir.
They say that, you know, you get the government you deserve. So perhaps that's it. But I see that we can have integrity, man. I don't think that we're incapable of it. I think we can have we can be good people and we can live lawfully and we can do the things that we know in our hearts are right.
In your first book that you published, you self-published in 1992, Margaret Watts wrote in her introduction that there's a lot of bad poetry being published. The critics must say so and help to direct one's wit potential. What do you think of our spoken word culture here in Trinidad?
Well, as one of the grandmothers of the spoken word movement, a few years ago, I started a small show in a place called the Space Bar, which was in the basement of Breton Hall. And I say a few, it was quite a few years ago. And that was one of the first of these kind of open mic things. And the movement, I'm not saying I was the first, but it was one of the first. And the movement kind of grew over the years. And so I feel a kind of pride in the way it's grown because people need outlets. And since we have no publishing industry, how is a poet going to get their work heard or seen? You're going to have to perform it. So I'm glad that there is that outlet. I agree with Margaret. Then as now, there's a lot of bad poetry out there. But you know what? The cream will rise to the top. And you will see people like Muhammad Muakil, who is an excellent poet, spoken, or indeed I think on the page, his work is great. And you can see it because he's in every show. You know, I mean, he's very much in demand as a poet. So I think that there is a way that perhaps that can be used as a barometer of some kind. There is a need for criticism. I'm not sure how that can be structured given the fact that there is no publishing. You know, I mean, how are you going to critique a spoken word show? Because the very nature of the thing, it changes from week to week. The same people don't show up, the same poems aren't read. So it's not like, you know, it's kind of a difficult space to navigate as a critic, which I'm also a critic. So I could say, you know, in a sense, you kind of have to let it find its own level.